What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we'd love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And right now, I'd like to give you guys my take on Expedition Back to the Future, now showing on Discovery Plus. So those of you who've been around my channel for any amount of time knows that I love Discovery Plus and I love Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates. I think that he is very funny, got a ton of on-screen presence, a ton of charisma, and I just love watching him host these unknown documentary type shows where he's looking for ancient artifacts, or he's looking for cryptids, or he's looking for answers to something that happened in history. I love those type of shows, and I love the way that Josh Gates hosts them. Definitely with some humor, but very educational and informative as well. With Expedition Back to the Future, he teams up with Christopher Lloyd to go searching for a missing DeLorean from Back to the Future, because they're going to donate it to the Michael J. Fox Foundation, where they can, at that point, auction it off to raise money for Parkinson's research. All right, let's talk about what this is and what this isn't. This is not an Expedition Unknown season. This is not a spin-off of Expedition Unknown. Even though they pretend that it is, it's not. This is more of a spin-off of Back to the Future than it is of Expedition Unknown, if we're being very clear and very honest. So, Expedition Unknown is, in a lot of ways, I mean, obviously it's scripted, but it feels very genuine, and it feels very natural, and it's very informative in what it teaches us and what it tells us. I believe that Josh is actually going on these expeditions. Yes, we do know that there are scripted elements to these shows, but Josh, at its heart, it is a show where Josh is looking for these things, and he is trying to find answers. This is all scripted. I mean, they were working off of a script on almost every component of this show. It was all planned out in advance. And you can tell by the way it played out, by the way that Josh and Christopher Lloyd interacted with each other, the way that they interacted with the guest on the show. It was all incredibly scripted, and there were segments that I think were completely fictitious. Like the segment where they were getting the DeLorean to rebuild in episode 3, and the redneck lady points a shotgun at them, and then Doc Brown goes to negotiate. Wink, wink. Not Doc Brown. Christopher Lloyd goes to negotiate. Wink, wink. I mean, obviously, that was an entirely fictional segment in there for our entertainment and for our laughs. And it sets up that way. Like, it's not pretending that it's not that. Because in the very beginning of the show, we get Doc Brown showing up. Not Christopher Lloyd. Doc Brown showing up. And the entire run, this is 4 episodes, the entire run, they are working off of a newspaper article from the future that has a picture of Josh, Christopher Lloyd, and Michael J. Fox with the DeLorean in the background. And the DeLorean, the picture goes through various levels of disappearance, just like in the Back to the Future movies. So all that being said, they established from the get-go, yeah, this is mostly going to be fiction. This is mostly going to be scripted fiction for your entertainment. Is there genuine sleuthing that is happening here while they're looking for this car? Kind of. I mean, it's all very scripted and it all seemed very easy. Something that they could have done in 1 episode that they drug out for 4, because it was Back to the Future, and it also was for a good cause. Clearly, Josh is a fan of the Back to the Future franchise, so am I, and what I loved about this was that it was an exploration of the franchise and the fandom. They took the time to learn about the DeLorean cars. We learned about the history of DeLorean. We went to DeLorean headquarters today. We visited museums that were dedicated to Back to the Future. Fans, we visited fans who had large personal Back to the Future collections. We spent a lot of time exploring the Back to the Future lore. As a movie fan, I really appreciated that. And it was very interesting to see Josh take on this kind of a topic. But it was not Expedition Unknown. It's just not what it was. This was something entirely different, entirely on its own. And I can tell why, it's obvious to me why they released this on Discovery Plus as its own thing. And why they're still releasing Expedition Unknown on cable and then having it go to Discovery Plus the next day like most shows do. They released this on Discovery Plus as its own thing because it very much is this standalone special type thing where it is very different than the standard show. They make lots of references to the show, like, yeah, you know what? I look for stuff, so this is right up my alley. But it's not your Expedition Unknown. It was great seeing Christopher Lloyd playing, essentially he's a lead man in this. For 4 episodes of television, he's one of the lead characters, if not the lead character, sharing that title with Josh. It was nice seeing Christopher Lloyd back in the limelight for this series, and he's clearly lost a little bit of pep in his step, but it still works. He still works as an actor, and you just love seeing him on screen. His voice, his demeanor, the way that he interacts with people. It's Christopher Lloyd, like vintage Christopher Lloyd, and I adore it. Leah Thompson, wonderful seeing her back on screen, even if it was just briefly. And then obviously great seeing Michael J. Fox. One thing that they did in this was there was a ton of cameos. Again, feeling that love for the franchise and the fandom for the franchise, and also at the same time feeling the scriptedness of this show. How it was very much not a Discovery show, but a scripted, pre-planned narrative. But the cameos were still great. Even though every time a cameo hit, it felt scripted and it felt pre-planned and it took you out of the discovery of the show, they were great to see. Like you saw the principal in one scene, slackers. You saw Mayor Goldie Wilson, Mayo! The Earth Angel singer from the high school Under the Sea dance. Various other cameos throughout. It was great seeing these cameos, great seeing these actors back in the role and kind of just poking some fun at the role that they made famous so many years ago. Do I recommend Expedition Back to the Future? Yeah, I think so. It depends on what you're looking for, though. If you're an Expedition Unknown fan and you're looking specifically for Expedition Unknown show that has the same format as Expedition Unknown and feels very in line with those shows, I don't think you're going to really appreciate this, especially if you're not a Back to the Future fan. Because this is going to feel very scripted and forced and a little fake. Because that's essentially what it is. It's not a real Expedition Unknown episode. But if you're a big fan of if you're a big fan of Back to the Future, and if you're also a big fan of Josh Gates, I think you're going to have fun with this. It's this interesting mishmash between two franchises where neither one is really it's not Back to the Future, but it's also not Expedition Unknown. It's this weird mishmash of the two franchises. And seeing it operate in that context it can be very entertaining. You just have to understand that it isn't going to be Expedition Unknown and be in that mind frame when you're watching it. And I think if you understand the context from that point of view, you understand where they're coming from and what they're trying to achieve, then I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. So yeah, I recommend it, but you should know what it is going into it. So that's where I'm at on Expedition Back to the Future. Did you watch Expedition Back to the Future? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. While you're down there, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out a lot of content, and I want to make sure that you're up to date with everything that I'm doing. And as always, thank you so much for joining me right here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we'd love to talk about. And until next time, we'll see you later.